Hello and welcome to the WriteCome.com podcast, where we help you to make money from your words. Each episode will be sharing tips, tricks, and strategies you can use to make more money from your writing, publishing, and marketing to your fans and audience. Let's get started with your host, Barry J. McDonald.
Hi, this is Barry here, and you are very, very welcome to this podcast episode from WriteCome.com. And today, as I was going for my morning walk, I was just thinking to myself, what will I talk about today? Well, at the moment, as you're probably well aware, we are doing a podcast challenge, and today's topic is on recording your content. Now, I have found in the beginning when I was doing podcasts, I had this kind of level of perfection that I wanted to reach. I'd listened to podcasts before and they all sounded so professional. Nobody ever goofed up, nobody ever made a mistake, and it was flawless from start to finish. And unfortunately, I used to think when I was starting my podcast that I would need to record my podcast at the same level. And unfortunately, when I used to be out walking the dog and recording the walking podcast, unfortunately, sometimes I used to walk around the field maybe for 20 minutes, maybe for half an hour, and never have anything to show for it. You know, I would start a podcast episode for maybe 3 or 4 minutes, and then I'd say something stupid or I'd goof up, and then I would hit delete, and then I would go back again, and then I would start recording it again. Now, if you do hear a rustling noise in the car here with me, it's just that Summer's in the boot, and she's just lying on top of a load of a shopping bag. So forgive me if you hear a rustling noise. That's what it is. It's the dog in the back of the car. Now, as I said, I would sometimes, walk around for half an hour, 40 minutes and not have anything to show for it. And that's one of the things I'm bringing up in today's topic in the podcast course, is that sometimes we have a level of perfection that we would like to hit, but sometimes we aren't actually at that level yet. If you do, finally agree on your podcast when you hit stop or whatever, and you're happy enough with the content you've recorded, and you do put it up and you say to yourself, that is the best I can do. I know for a fact in probably 6 months time from now or a year's time from now, you'll probably look back at that content and you'll probably cringe, because you'll probably notice all the mistakes you're making. Maybe you're talking too fast, or maybe you're going off in tangent, or maybe you're just, as I said, sometimes saying something stupid. And you will find, even with 6 months under your belt, you will be in a far different position than where you are. And unfortunately, a lot of us, think, especially when we are creating content, be that, blog posts or videos or, podcasts or even training courses, we unfortunately hold ourselves back for the longest time to create the perfect blog post, the perfect podcast episode, the perfect YouTube video, the perfect training course. But as I said, as you get more experience, your level of kind of professionalism, or I don't know if it's professionalism or if that even isn't a word, but you know what I mean. In a couple of months' time from now, when you do look back at that blog post, you are going to see how probably it could have been written better. You're probably going to notice grammar mistakes and spelling mistakes, and again in the podcast, goofing up. Maybe the video, maybe the lighting was bad, or or maybe the camera angle was poor, or maybe you needed to move the camera around more to kind of keep the audience kind of awake, that they weren't nodding off because it's such a long video. Or again, to even your course, even 6 months from now, if you are teaching on a topic, you are going to find that you're going to learn new things about that topic. You're going to discover new pieces of software. You're going to discover new kind of tips and tricks, and maybe some of the things are going to change. So again, going back to that course, even though you had made it as good as possible, you are going to come back and you're going to notice kind of plot holes in it and mistakes in it and things that probably aren't going to work anymore in that course, and you're going to have to come back again and probably redo it. So if you are doing something today, especially something creative, if you are holding yourself back for the longest time, if you're somebody like I was, walking around the field for half an hour and not have anything to show for it, forgive yourself, leave the mistakes in, because sometimes that can actually build a bond between you and your listeners and your readers, in that they're going to see you as human. If you, even though we all probably would like to put on the professional front all the time, if you are kind of professional all the time, it does make you kind of seem a little bit, I'm trying to think of the word, kind of untouchable, or kind of robotic, or kind of, that you never ever make a mistake. And sometimes that kind of puts a barrier between you and maybe somebody who you're training, from where they are, probably with with all the kind of lack of experience and their maybe fear of making mistakes. And if they are trying to become who you are and they see you as professional as possible, always saying the right things, never goofing up, always having the right answer to a question or whatever, they're probably going to see maybe you as being too far away from where they are and kind of out of their kind of ability. They feel that they maybe won't have the ability to catch up from where they are to where you are. So you're kind of putting a barrier between you and them if you do seem professional. Whereas if I was trying to teach somebody some podcast episodes and, they listen back to my podcast to see some of the weaker ones where I goof up or say the wrong word or whatever, it probably is, it is going to make them more relaxed. It's going to probably bond me better with them, and that they're going to see me as a human being, that I make mistakes. I say the wrong thing. I sometimes, whatever, but I do mistakes in my podcast episode, and it is going to kind of build a bond between me and my listeners or people who I am trying to coach, because I do come off as more human. So sometimes you're as well leaving in those little mistakes just to kind of show that you're not a robot, that you are, you're just like everybody else. You're trying to do your best with whatever talent you have right now. But as I said, in 6 months from now, after you get a couple of podcast episodes, or 6 months from now when you have a ton of blog posts or videos on YouTube or whatever, you are going to look back in those early days and you'll probably be tempted sometimes to hit the delete button and try and scrub them all and get them all off the internet, because you don't want your followers to see you in those earlier days. But having all that content out there, it does kind of, as I said, it does kind of leave, as I said in one of the previous podcast episodes, it is a kind of breadcrumb trail where somebody can follow along with you and just say, well, you know what, Barry wasn't an expert 6 months ago. He was terrible in his podcast, but right now, he is a lot better on it. He's speaking more freely. It's coming across more better. And, I like where he is, but I can see where he started off and I can see where he's got now. And that is going to make me more comfortable that, where I am right now, if I follow along with him, I am going to get to the point where he is. So, as I said, whatever content you are creating today, don't let perfection hold you back. I'm even forcing myself right now to record this podcast episode from start to finish without actually hitting the delete button and starting back again, because I don't want to give myself the option to go back and scrub this all and redo it again. I'm going to leave it as it is, mistakes, warts and all, and as I said, hopefully in 6 months' time we will look back and we will find that my episodes have got a lot better, a lot more professional. But as I said, don't hide your scars, don't hide your mistakes. Okay, if they are really, really terrible, of course, hit the delete button, or delete that last sentence or whatever, or go back and edit that article whatever and tidy it up. But as I said, don't get too carried away with it. No matter how good you think it is right now, you are still going to look back and you're still going to cringe at what you've put out there. So get it out there, warts and all, and let your audience, see you as a human being and somebody who isn't a robot, who doesn't make mistakes. And as I said, it will build a bond between you and your readers or your followers or whatever. So as always, if you'd like to find out more about me, if you want to come over to Writecom, that's WRITECOME.com. At the moment, I have got a great free report over there, which is called Words to Wealth. And in it, I'm going to show you 10 different ways you can make money from your writing. Or if you'd like to reach out to me, if you'd like to ask me a question, if you'd like me to cover something in an upcoming podcast episode, feel free to send an email to barryjmcdonald@gmail.com, and hopefully, all going well, I'll be able to answer that question, or I will at least get back to you if you do send an email to me. So as always, if you'd like to follow along with me in future episodes, just hit subscribe and subscribe to the podcast. Or if you've learned something from this, or you'd like to share this with somebody else, feel free to hit one of the social media buttons below, or just send a tweet or a like or whatever, send it out to your followers. And as always, thanks for sharing your time with me again today. Take care and have a lovely day. Bye-bye.
Thanks for joining us today. If you'd like more from the Writecom.com podcast, be sure to subscribe now for more tips, tricks, and ideas you can use to make more money from your words. See you in the next episode.